Hi everyone, it's Alex from Loliru Consulting. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. Like many of you, I've been watching the news and the current state of affairs in our country with a mix of frustration, with fear, and with anger. And I've spent a lot of time trying and wrestling with how and whether or not I should add my voice to this moment in time that would be constructive, that would be positive, honest, and aligned with my values. I started Loliru to be an authentic people-first consulting firm that helps small businesses navigate hard moments with honesty, with transparency, with fairness, care and kindness, not with fear, anger, or silence. And as an Indigenous Latina small business owner, I don't feel like being quiet at this moment is an option. Not what's happening is showing up in our workplaces, in our employees' lives, and in our communities. My reach, although small, but my hope is that this video reaches other businesses and other managers who are trying to figure out how to lead in this moment right now. Not perfectly, but honestly, authentically, and responsibly. I also want to name something completely directly and be out in the open. Yes, this is about politics. And I understand that there's a taboo of bringing, politics or religion into the workplace. However, politics and policy are things that shape employment law, labor rights, immigration status, workplace safety, and who's protected versus who isn't. And those decisions aren't theoretical. They show up at work. They affect real people and have real life consequences. And pretending otherwise doesn't make the workplace a neutral place. It actually makes it very disconnected and very tone deaf. And as an HR professional, my responsibility isn't to avoid those uncomfortable conversations. It's to help organizations respond to reality in a way that's lawful, that's ethical, and that's people first. So this isn't about bringing politics into the workplace. It's about acknowledging when politics has already entered it and choosing how we're going to respond to it. Last week, Minnesota experienced a general strike. So no work, no school, no shopping. An estimated 50,000 Minnesotans took to the streets in sub-zero temperatures. Hundreds of businesses shut down in solidarity to join clergy, labor leaders, and community members march across the state. The strike was in response to the mass deployment of ICE and Border Patrol agents under Operation Metro Surge. And it was also in response to the fatal shootings by federal immigration agents, a broader pattern of deaths in ICE custody, large-scale detention and deportation, and the thousands of people that are disappearing off of ICE tracking systems. Now, general strikes are rare. They happen when trust collapses. And what we're seeing now in the general strikes is an escalation of those things being responded to, with calls actually with a general strike as early as tomorrow, Friday, January 30th, to a larger scale labor-backed, labor union-approved general strike in the near future. So again, you're asking, what does this have to do with HR? Why are you bringing politics into the workplace? Well, here's why. Number one, my business, Loliru Consulting, we support workers' right to collective action, always. We also see strikes as a signal that systems meant to protect people have failed. For me, this isn't political. It's a moral situation. And work and policy are not separate. They affect employment laws, labor protections, wages, benefits, workplace safety, who's protected. Those all come from policy decisions. And those decisions also show up at work every single day. And again, My role is to protect employees and to help businesses comply with federal law or state law. And all those responsibilities go together. Now, in addition to the issues that people are having with ICE and Border Patrol and the deportations, is not just that one issue. It's actually an overarching discontent over immigration rates, over rising living costs, rising healthcare costs, job insecurity, and tariff-driven price increases that are all of this is hitting at once. We also have a multitude of corporations that have laid off, and if they haven't, they will soon be. And this is all driven by AI. And all these things are hitting at once. And so when all those pressures stacked together, they will affect safety, stability, affordability, and people, the normal person does not experience those things as separate problems. They converge, and that convergence is what pushes this collective action, even from people that they don't even consider themselves to be activists. So it doesn't stay out there in the world, outside of the doors of your business. It shows up at work every day in attendance, in engagement, in turnover, and most importantly, in trust with the company. Small businesses are going to feel this much faster because the margin of error is thinner. Now, if you're truly a, people first business, you're probably already paying attention to all these things. But this message is for the businesses that aren't, or they think that they can ignore this moment or just hold off and wait it out until this all pans out. For small businesses that are waiting, this isn't about picking a side. It's about leading with people first and avoiding unnecessary harm to your employees, to yourself, and to your business. Most national polls show that the majority of Americans disapprove on how immigration is being handled right now. So that means that many of your employees are experiencing this as a personal issue, not an abstract thought. Being rigid and being punitive and having those responses may feel like you're protecting your business, but really what they will do is that they will create bigger problems later. Flexibility with your employees at this time is going to reduce the risk, and being punitive and having punishment and consequences is only going to multiply it. From an HR perspective, how you respond now will be remembered long after this moment in time has passed. So let's be clear about what we don't want to do right now. We don't want to send reactive emails warning employees about consequences of taking time off for general strikes or for protests. We are not suddenly reinterpreting attendance or PTO policies. We are not starting to document people differently because of their choices or because you feel uncomfortable. And do not ask employees to explain or to justify their participation or their lack of participation in general strikes or in protests. These moves will not protect your business. They will actually escalate the risks. And these will also escalate the risks to your company as a whole and culturally. So what being people first looks like in action is you're going to want to decide now what your approach is going to be before emotions run high. When people are asking for time off, are you going to be closing your business? Are you going to be staying open? Are you going to be allowing PTO or unpaid time off? I mean, now is the time to decide, and then make sure that you're applying that consistently across the board to all of your employees. You're going to be communicating with care once and with clarity and calmly. You don't need a speech. You just need to be clear. You're going to train your managers because you don't want them to improvise. The biggest situations that I find as an HR person is a manager's misinterpretation of a policy or procedure that then will just blow up. So make sure that your managers are trained to have these conversations with their employees, because most damages happens on those one-off conversations. Make sure that you're documenting policies, not people. If you're writing things down, you should be writing things down about how decisions were made, not about the dissent. Now, on the flip side, if you're an employee considering participating in a general strike or a protest, this obviously matters too. Collective action is serious, and protection varies by role, by industry, and by workplace and state. Not all strikes are legally protected in the same way, and not every employee understands the law. Protect yourself by knowing, obviously, your workplace policies. Make sure that you're documenting conversations and communication, and that you are not acting alone or on assumptions. Just because your bosses are your boss and the business doesn't mean that they know what those laws are. That's why most organizations and companies have HR, because they're trained to have these conversations. So being people first action includes protecting yourself and others. So, obviously strikes are strongest when they're going to be intentional, and meaning that you're being informed, that you're prepared, and that you're looking out for one another. And one last thing businesses need to understand: silence is not neutral. When leadership says nothing, employees still hear something. And what they're hearing is, my boss or my company is fearful, or they hear indifference, or they hear that the organization is not prepared to protect them. Being clear in your communication, being calm in your communication will not inflame situations. It will stabilize them. General strikes, again, don't happen in a vacuum. They happen because people feel like they haven't been heard. They're not intentionally trying to disrupt. They happen because people are desperate. They want to be heard and no longer believe that systems will protect them. And from an HR perspective, this isn't chaos. What it is, it's a warning. And people first leadership doesn't mean agreeing with your employees on their actions, on their wanting to participate in general strikes or protests, or not to participate in general strikes and in protests. It means responding with clarity, with dignity and care when systems are under stress. So how organizations respond in moments like this doesn't shape outcomes, it shapes the culture of your workplace. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feedback, or if you need help navigating how to deal with this situation in your workplace or how to prepare for it, leave me a message, reach out. I'm here to help. I'll see you guys in the next video.